What up, Front Yard fam? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Game Show brought to you by Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-hosts, Joey Wright and John Luke Garofalo. What's up, boys? Oh, that well on a Thursday, JL.
What was there a farty sound going on?
There was a farty sound going on.
Was that your best impression of the Ravens at the end of the game against the Browns you were at last week?
You shut your stupid mouth.
It's because I texted you. How do the Ravens always do this?
Every single time. Every single time.
I was going to say you have the best luck with Ravens games you go to because they're always the ones that come down to the last second. But
that's just every Ravens
game. It's just every Ravens game. There's no luck. If you buy Ravens tickets, that's probably what you're seeing. But you're going to another one this week, Jay?
I'm going to the one tonight.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Can you wave to me on television?
It depends on if I can get on television.
Show your nipples. They'll put you on there.
Really? Do I have to? Who do I show them to?
Poe.
Poe.
And if Poe approves,
I got to get in front of him. How do I know if he approves or not?
He'll wink at you under his mask, but you'll feel it.
Mm.
Exactly. He'll tear his ACL if he likes your nipples. That's what happened the last time.
Wow.
If you look closely, there's a fan on screen immediately after that you can just tell he has nice nipples under that shirt.
That set of nipples just really took Bo off guard.
With that being said, we got off the rails rather quickly today. We got a game of Fantasy Fortune ready for you. It's going to be Joey versus John Luke in a head-to-head all FYF matchup today. I made the puzzles, so watch out. We got some people in the chat ready for today's show. Grim fan in here. Wasn't expecting to be here for the show, but we got him. And so he's got a question for us. But we're going to hit that in a minute, Grim. I've been looking at that trade, thinking about what I would do in your situation. We got Craig in here saying Brooks was here. What's up, Craig? And hello to Brooks.
Hello, Brooks.
Mr. Scamp.
Reference.
Mr. Scampers in here said, "Idy ho, FFFFFRinos." What's up, Mr. Scampers? Welcome in. My mouth's not working so good today, so forgive me on that one. Albert stopping by with a hello, everyone. Dustin in here with a let's go hashtag Team Joey. And Damien here with yo. Happy football day to all who observe. Man, I was just about to say something about Dame trying to survive in our Guillotine League, but Dame is out. We are down to 5 teams left in the Front Yard Fantasy Listener League. Mr. Scampers still sitting in there. Me and Joey, along with our friend Rick Butts. And who's the last one in there?
Oh, I think JL, right?
No, I got chopped.
Will T. Okay. Will T on Twitter is in
there
as well as the final 5 teams. We'll see who goes home this week.
I think you both are still in it.
What'd you say, JL?
The fact that you are both still in it should say something about how much we scripted it.
About our viewers' ability at fantasy.
Everyone was telling me don't spend up on the first bit of waivers for a Guillotine League. Like, save your money. And I'm like, I'm going to spend my money. And I did. And I've been hanging tough. So I don't know. That might be a strategy.
I'm officially out of money. I spent my last $14 on Travis Etienne and Sam Laporta. And I'm feeling pretty good about my team rolling into the end of this season. We got Mr. Scampers in here saying, good luck tonight, JL. Best of luck getting your nipples approved by Poe. And we got Victor in the chat saying, speaking of neighbors like Flanders, happy National Day to my neighbor state. It's National Indiana Day. Wow. Have fun at the game tonight, bro, Chacha. JL, tell us your favorite fact about Indiana.
Well, if I knew one, I would tell you.
Joey, what's your favorite thing about the state of Indiana for National Indiana
I don't
Day?
have a favorite. I have a least favorite thing about Indiana.
Let's hear it.
Who's Deanna?
It's where the KKK was found.
Yeah, that is.
I mean to bring the show down, but we've got to learn something. That's bad.
I assume they're not celebrating that. My favorite fact about Indiana is what somebody told me about Indianapolis one time, that everybody who's there is happy to live there, but they all just ended up there. That it's a city of people who end up someplace, not a city of where Indianapolis isn't like a destination to move to. You get brought there because of family or because of work or because of something. And then you're like, hey, Indianapolis is pretty cool.
It's all right.
It's all right. Also, Scampers in here said, farts and nipplage. I've missed you guys.
We miss you.
Scampers? Also, Scampers letting us know that it is Anthony from Roto Heat that is the last person sitting there in the league with us, not Will T. I forgot because Anthony has been nearly eliminated like 6 times now. Just keeps on squeaking by. But that's all you got to do in a Guillotine League is not be last. But in today's game, You have to come in first in order to get the credit down here. Andrew down here with his favorite Indiana facts. So the University of Indiana has their teams called the Hoosiers, and all the men who send their kids there are Hoosier daddies.
Hoosier daddies. Hoosier daddies would be such a good name for a team. Oh my God. Hoosier daddies. We are.
Andrew, you got the best Indiana fact so far. If you guys have better Indiana facts, throw them in the chat in honor of National Indiana Day. We're going to play a game called Fantasy Fortune today. Joey and John-Luke, you remember how to play?
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
JL, before we start the game, I need to say, it's just you and me today, right? We've played games against each other a lot of times. There needs to be some higher stakes here.
All right.
I think next week on the show, we're going to do a Wednesday Thanksgiving show.
Loser
the loser has to eat. No. I said the loser has to eat a Thanksgiving food of the other's choice. Like a whole big thing of it, like a whole bowl.
I will not eat meat, Joey. You cannot make me.
I wouldn't do that to you. It'd be like peas or like mashed potatoes or something.
Okay, that just sounds like my normal plan for next week.
Yeah,
but you got to eat on the show. Just
on the show. Okay, I'd be willing to take a bet to eat on the show rather than not on the show.
Right, and you could pick any food for me because I'm not a wimp like you.
Oh, okay. Oh man, so everything's open.
Except for mushrooms. I'm allergic to mushrooms.
Allergic to mushrooms. Any other serious allergies?
No. We'll discuss
it. Okay. We've got a Thanksgiving themed side bet on today's game of Fantasy Fortune. Before we get into that, though, a couple reminders. First and foremost, thanks for tuning in to watch us on this beautiful Thursday. We are live every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time for the Fantasy Football Game Show. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that little notification bell so you don't miss us every day when we go live. Right after this, at 4:05 p.m. Eastern time, or however long it takes for me to empty my bowels after an hour of holding them and eating an entire box of mac and cheese for lunch, Joey and I will be live for Fantasy Football office hours, doing nothing but answering your questions. So if you've got questions, feel free to throw them in the chat throughout today's show. But if we don't get to them, we're going to be doing a show right after this where all we're doing is answering your questions for about 30 minutes.
I got a question. Why do you always say that thing about your bowels in between?
It's the truth. I always poop immediately after this show ends because I always eat something for lunch that irritates my bowels.
Sometimes you don't make it across the finish line.
It's cheap and delicious, Kraft mac and cheese. And my stomach does not like it, but boy, does my mouth like it. I see Dustin in here with a pop quiz for us. Says, do you know what a Hoosier is?
That's what my wife puts on her legs when she goes out for a nice dinner with me.
The Panty Hoosiers. Mm-hmm. A Hoosier is a horse that has been partially castrated.
Botched castration.
I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. And we got some suggestions in here. Scamper says eating an entire bunch of raw asparagus, or Craig says a bowl of black olives has to be.
Oh no, I hate olives. Okay.
This just became a black olive bet.
Oh.
That's disgusting.
I could eat maybe one black olive and then I would throw up.
So Tim in here said a Hoosier is more of a vibe, if I am correct.
Guys, this is really weird. I Googled Hoosier and it says Joseph Wright derived Hoosier from an Indian word of corn. Apparently
you discovered it?
I did it.
Joey is the Hoosier daddy.
That's the answer to Hoosier daddy. It's Joey.
Joey Wright is the Hoosier daddy.
This is my dad.
This is from indianagovernment.com. But yeah, it says Joseph Wright coined the frame Hoosier.
Who came first, Indiana Jones or Indiana the state?
I don't know.
Indiana Jones.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he's immortal, if I remember correctly. All right, well, guys, remember that Indiana Jones is immortal. It might come up in a future game of Jeopardy, but today we are playing Fantasy Football Fortune. Before we get into that, we got a question in here from Grin Fan about a trade that he had that I wanted to pose to you guys.
Yeah,
I've got this pulled up here. The trade is for a team that he is 9-1 in the league, and the players he would be receiving are Tony Pollard, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Sam Howell for Derrick Henry, Kyler Murray, and Michael Pittman. Joey, when you look at this, which side do you prefer?
Could you put it up again for me?
Oh, yeah, I can put it up on the screen as well. I got it pulled up here. But the players, again, were Derrick Henry, Kyler Murray, and Michael Pittman for Tony Pollard, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Sam Howell. 1 second.
I'm assuming DJ's probably okay at quarterback. Because for me, the best player in this trade, in my opinion, right now is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, I want all parts of the Lions on my fantasy team right now, to the point that I went out last week and traded for Sam Laporta and David Montgomery. And I also have Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown in the league. So I just have all of the Lions on my team. So their schedule's really great until they get to Dallas, but we'll worry about that later. We're just going to worry about that right now. But this trade,
no, I think this is one quarterback.
I would want to know who DJ's other quarterback is. Like, is Sam Howell now his starting quarterback? He did give us his lineup. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, you're making this trade, DJ. You've got Jalen Hurts as your quarterback. You can completely part with Kyler Murray. Jalen Hurts is past his bye week now, correct? They had a week 9 bye.
Yes, he is, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, you're making this trade to get Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I think Tony Pollard could have a good finish to the season. He's just missing touchdowns.
See if you can get Sam Howell out of there. Get somebody else in. Or upgrade like a Tony Pollard. But otherwise, I'm with Joey.
Yeah, unless this is one of those leagues where like you're roster locked by position, where you have to like it has to be position for position, which I've seen leagues like that. I'm with Jail. I would see it if you could get another maybe lower tier running back or wide receiver in there instead of Sam Howell, because you've got Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts is your ticket to winning this league. Like you don't need to bank on Sam Howell stepping in for him.
Sam Howell,
though Sam Howell's been sneakily pretty good so far this season for fantasy football. I'm not sure how sneaky it's actually been. He's been just pretty good for fantasy football. All right. I'm going to pull up the actual game now, explain how this is going to work, and then we are going to get started. The game today is Fantasy Football Wheel of Fortune, Fantasy Fortune as we call it. And if you've ever seen the popular TV show Wheel of Fortune, this is going to look very familiar, but with an NFL and fantasy football twist. Whenever it's your turn, there will be a puzzle up on the board. You're going to have to answer a 50-50 NFL or fantasy-related trivia question. Get it right, you're going to get to guess a consonant that you think appears in the puzzle. For every instance of that consonant that shows up, you're going to add $500 to your round bank. Now, you can do this up to 3 times in a row on your turn. That is, answer a question correctly, guess a letter correctly. If at any point either of those 2 things are wrong, your turn is immediately over. After the 3rd question correct and letter correct, your turn will also be over. But good news, you're going to have 5 seconds to solve, and you will bank all of that money regardless of whether or not you're able to solve the puzzle. Now, during your turn, there are 2 other actions you can take before a question has been asked. You can choose to purchase a vowel as long as you have a minimum of $500 in your round bank. These will cost $100 per instance they show up to a max of $500. You can also choose to solve the puzzle before a question has been asked. If you do this, you will earn $1,000 or however much is in your round bank. This is not $1,000 plus. It's just whichever one's higher. We'll move down into your total. At any point, whenever you solve the puzzle, you're banking all of that money, and whoever has the most money at the end of today's game, when we run out of time, run out of puzzles, or run out of razors to shave our mustaches, will be our champion. You guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. Also, Victor in here said David Letterman is from Indiana. That's my only Indiana fact right now. And he thinks it's right.
Yeah. He thinks he's from Indiana.
We had a question in here from Ricky. Ricky wanted to know Noah Brown versus Arizona, Jacoby Myers versus Miami, Hollywood versus Houston, Lockett versus Los Angeles Rams needs to start 2. John Luke, are there names there that jump out at you that you would be starting?
Yeah, the last 2. Hollywood and Lockett are the 2 I'd be throwing in there. Jacoby and Noah Brown just feel like they're another level of uncertainty outside of those 2 guys.
I'm with you. Watch Lockett. He was questionable for this week. I believe he was a limited participant at practice, if I'm not mistaken, on Wednesday. But as long as he plays, I'm with you, JL. What about you, Joey?
Yeah, 100%. Lockett is someone I like his schedule rest of the season, probably more than any other wide receiver. I just need Geno Smith to put it together on the field. I think Lockett will be fine this week, though. And listen, I love Hollywood Brown rest of the season. So, yeah, I think those will be the 2 start this week.
Also, Craig coming in here letting us know it wasn't Indiana Jones or Indiana. It was the Crystal Skulls. Every cinephile's favorite Indiana Jones movie. Right, Joey?
We were having such a good time here today. Everyone was getting along. And then Craig has to come in and talk about Crystal Skull. And just not happy about that.
One more question.
Only movie I've ever walked out of.
Really?
Yep.
I walked out of A Million Ways to Die in the West, the Seth MacFarlane movie. It was so slow, and I got so bored.
You guys ever watch 8-Legged Freaks?
I did never seen Eight-Legged Freaks.
So good. Yeah, you just brought that back by saying the other movie.
Feels like, well, I did not walk out of that one.
No, I did not. I don't really remember what it was about, but I remember parts of it.
I hope about a spider.
Yeah. What'd you say, Joey?
I said David Arquette was in that movie. I remember I had to. That's when I was with projections at a movie theater, and I had to splice that movie all together, and we had the poster up. Yeah.
Is that guy who almost won American Idol?
That's David Archuleta.
Oh, close. Almost the same.
David Enchilada?
David Enchilada. We got Shraggy in here with a question for us as well.
What's up, Shraggy?
I traded Jamar Chase, Dameon Pierce, and Romeo Doubs for Adam Thielen, Travis Etienne, and T. Higgins. Who won? I'm assuming this is Jamar Chase. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Jail, which side of this do you like?
Do you know what side I'm on, baby? Give me Etienne and Higgins and Mr. Adam Thielen.
Joey, what about you?
I hate losing Chase, but it's the Thielen side. What's the coach of that? I just blanked on the coach of Carolina. He's taken over play calling duties, and he had it taken away from him. When he had the play calling duties, Thielen was thriving. So Thielen might be getting back on pace this week.
We can only hope so.
I can't believe I just blanked on it, and I can't remember it.
Frank Wright.
Yeah. Frank Wright. There you go. Frank Wright's got play calling duties back. Thielen's going to be back to normal. Okay, now we do the clip where I sound like I know what I'm talking about.
We'll pull that one.
Thank you.
I'm with you guys. ETN has been an absolute monster so far this season, and Higgins should be coming back fully healthy in the short term as
Not
well.
this week. He won't be playing tonight.
No, he is out
he
this week.
He should be good after this week, hopefully.
Well, this comment doesn't want to get hidden unless somebody else wants to do it, but we can go ahead and start today's game. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this first puzzle in today's game. All those rules I just stated, throw them out the window because this one is a toss-up worth $500. I'm going to slowly reveal letters in this player's name. When you think you know who it is, buzz in by saying your name. If you get it right, you'll get 500 and you'll get to go first. Here we go.
Joey,
you were first.
Tony Pollard.
Tank Dellard. Shoot.
It is not Tank Dellard. It is Joey's answer of Tony Pollard. The confetti falls. Joey, that is absolutely right. And I gave that money to jail on accident. You are going to earn $500. And you'll get to go first. You mentioned earlier when we were talking about that trade that you thought Tony Pollard could have a strong end to the season. And I think the reason that statement needs to be made is because he has not had a strong middle to the season. He's had like less than 10 PPR fantasy points 3-4 weeks in a row now at this point, 3 weeks in a row. So it's been pretty dismal. Do you believe that there is better games ahead for Pollard, or is this a change in how they're running this offense?
I think that Dallas did something this week by getting some news out there about Rico Dowdle. And I think that is to kind of fire up Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard is going to be really good rest of the season. The Cowboys have a pretty easy schedule rest of the way for fantasy speaking, that is. And so I think Tony Pollard's going to get his tea leaves. He's going to be in the end zone. So brighter days are ahead for Tony Pollard. Last year they had Zeke there, and Tony Pollard was able to catch these passes out of the backfield and kind of look like a change of pace back. And now they're kind of relying on him to be the lead back. I think Tony Pollard can kind of get back to where he was before and get some fantasy points for your teams.
You're not afraid he's going to get dowdled?
I don't think we're allowed to talk about that on here, are we?
We're definitely allowed to talk about it. Rico dowdled.
I've got my doubts about Tony Pollard rest of season, but I tend to side a little bit more with Joey that he is their premier running back, and we should see more premier running back style games out of him. But that being said, Dowdle was getting love in the preseason. Know what I mean? Dowdle was getting love early in the year. He was a pick him up and stash him waiver wire guy weeks 1, 2, 3 to see if he was going to be that 1-2 punch with Pollard. This could just be Dowdle's up to speed now, and maybe they want to get him more involved in this offense.
12 carries, 79 yards, and a touchdown last week.
Ain't nothing.
What could happen is CeeDee Lamb could get 2 touchdowns. Dallas goes up. Their defense gets a touchdown. They go by 21 in the first quarter. And then they start taking Tony Pollard off the field to kind of preserve him a little bit. But what are they preserving him for at this point? So I don't know.
They just throw him in one of those Star Wars carbonite things. I don't know what you call them.
Wait, did you see Jamar Chase say that he sleeps in a like a hyperbolic chamber every single night?
I have a theory.
Yeah, let's hear it.
There's never been a more eloquent way to say you fall asleep in the bathtub. Like, that's what's going on here, everybody. Like
my favorite responses were, I guess, the Sleep Number commercials were a lie. It's not sleeping in a sleep number. It's a hyperbaric chamber.
Jefferson?
Yeah.
What the heck? I forget what even is a hyperbaric chamber, but I do think it is one of those like float tanks, right? Where you're
that's what they kept the fish man from The Shape of Water in, right?
Or it's also like extra, I think it's extra oxygenated as well. Is that a word? Oxygenated? Whoever knows what a float or what a hyperbaric chamber actually does, post it in the chat because I forgot how to Google. Andrew in here coming in saying 8-Legged Freaks is the second best large monster disaster movie set here in Arizona. Evolution with David Duchovny is the first.
That's fair. That's totally fair. I had no idea that movie was set in Arizona either.
I've seen neither one of those movies. I've got some weekend
Evolution's
homework.
Underrated. It's actually a pretty solid movie.
Also, Craig agrees, says Evolution is a fantastically fun film. All right, well, guys, Joey, you got that first one. We're going to move into our next puzzle now. This is an NFL player movie mashup. So this is an NFL player and a movie name smashed together. Something like Boston Scott Pilgrim versus the World, or Dude, Where's My Derek Carr? Joey, you got that last one right, which means you're going to get to go first. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
I feel like this is going to be really dumb. I would like a question, please.
Okay. Andrew also said hyperbaric chamber. Hyperbolic is geometry. and language arts. We learned all about hyperboles in language arts. And Dustin said it's not a float tank. Two very different things.
You said like 6 different things and trying to just ask for what is the one thing that you were looking for.
What the hell does he sleep in? That's all I want to know, okay? I want to visualize this. I want to know how Ja'Marr Chase sleeps. Joey, here is your first question. What I want to know is who scored more PPR fantasy points in week 10? Who scored more PPR fantasy points in week 10? Was it Jake Ferguson or was it Trey McBride?
Trey McBride.
Trey McBride is correct, though Ferguson had himself a great week as well. Which letter would you like, Joey?
T.
T as in tornado?
Yeah. It's going to be a tough puzzle.
Okay, there are no T's in this puzzle. I am sorry, Joey, which means we are on to John Luke. Joe, would you like a question or would you like to solve? This is a reminder to our contestants as well. Out of the chat, everybody in the chat, play along. If you think you know it, put your answers in there. If you get it right before our contestants, we'll shout you out. If you get it very wrong, we'll make fun of you. And if you put something very funny in there, we will giggle. And boy, do we love to giggle.
Oh, my goodness. We can't help ourselves. Question me, Daddy.
All right. No, that's Joey, remember? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 10? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 10? Was it Tank Dell or was it Mike Evans?
Tank Dellard.
I'm sorry, John Luke. It was Mike Evans, the number 5 wide receiver on the week, which means we are on to Joey. Joey, would you like a question or would you like to solve?
Question.
Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 10? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 10? Was it Garrett Wilson or was it Brandon Cooks?
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks had himself a big boy week.
He did.
32.3 PPR fantasy points. Which letter would you like, Joey?
Real quick, I went and thanked Jeff Bell for recommending me to start Tanner Hudson in a flex position because I just wasn't feeling Brandon Cooks, and I didn't look at what Brandon Cooks had done. I was like, dude, thanks so much for the Tanner Hudson recommendation. He got like 17 fantasy points. I was feeling good. When I looked at Brandon Cooks, I was like, dang it, Jeff Bell. So I'll take a C, please.
A C. There are no C's in this puzzle, which means, John Luke, we are on to you.
Question me.
Okay, here we go. Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 10? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 10? Was it Deebo Samuel or was it Ja'Marr Chase?
Chase.
It was Chase, John Luke. Which letter would you like?
Let's go with R.
R. There are 3 R's in this puzzle. We're going to add 1,500 to your round bank.
I would like to solve, you idiot.
Okay.
Darren Waller.
This is Darren Waller, JL. That is absolutely correct. Going to bank that $1,500 that you have earned.
The minute I saw the hyphen, my brain went to Wally. I was like, Simon had to have picked Wally.
I wasn't sure how to incorporate the other R, but I decided another hyphen might throw you off the trail. I guess not.
The second time Wally's been used as a solution on the show.
What was the other one?
It was on one of my birthday shows with Dave Richard. It was something Wally. I forget.
I'll have to look up what that one was.
Yeah.
Dustin said
Taking
worst
Molly with Wally.
puzzle ever.
No, it's not good. It's not good.
It's not good.
Scampers loved it though. It was an absolutely great with that one, and Derek was a fan as well. I know Darren Waller is on IR, but I wanted to talk a little bit about this New York Giants team. They went from winning a playoff game last year to looking borderline unhelpable. Joey, what do you think happened between last season and now? And is there anything that can change, you think, that'll help the fantasy options on this team? Or is it just Saquon or bust at this point?
I don't even know if it's Saquon or bust. I think each week there might be better options than Saquon on your team. This offensive line for the Giants is dog poop. It's a really rough road ahead for the New York Giants. And like you said, is it Saquon or bust? Saquon's the only player I'm even considering starting. It's not going to be good ahead. But luckily, not a lot of people are depending on the wide receivers from the New York Giants or the quarterback for the New York Giants to win their fantasy leagues.
Yeah, I think the wide receiver core there, luckily, was the most predictable lack of fantasy value that we've had in a long time on a team. We thought the Giants and the Texans were going to be fantasy wastelands for wide receivers. Texans proved us way wrong, but the Giants were exactly what we were expecting there. It's not good, man. I see Scott Fish in here said, crap, I got sidetracked with work. Am I fired? Jail. This is
fired.
Suck it. I couldn't make the decision, but I can laugh in your face on the way out. And you said, great, a trash robot with a pulled hamstrung.
Hamstrung.
Also, Craig in here.
Pull my hamstrung.
It was Wall Eli Manning.
Oh, see, that's a way better.
On August 25th, 2020.
It was my birthday. Dave Richard.
Nice.
A minute ago. Nice job, guys. Well, with that amazing puzzle having been solved, we're going to move on to our next one. Joey, you're up first here.
Yep.
And we got your favorite category, rhyme time.
I hate this category.
This is going to rhyme
to our viewers.
It's going to be something like drinking soda with Marcus Mariota or playing clarinet with Jacoby Brissett. It's going to rhyme, and it'll have an NFL player in it. There's really no other rules. Joey, would you like a question, or would you like to solve this puzzle?
I would like to question, please.
Well, you can have one question, and you'll like it. Okay. Who scored more PPR fantasy points in Week 10? Who scored more PPR fantasy points in Week 10? Was it Alvin Kamara or was it Brian Robinson Jr.?
Brian Robinson Jr.
That is correct, Joey, with almost 30 PPR fantasy points. Which letter would you like?
N.
N. There are 3 N's in this puzzle. We're going to add 1,500 to your round bank. What's next, Daddy-O?
Question, please.
Okay. Who had more PPR fantasy points in Week 10? Who had more PPR fantasy points in Week 10? Was it Joe Mixon or was it David Montgomery?
David Montgomery.
David Montgomery is correct.
Get a big run.
Which letter would you like?
Yeah. G.
There are 2 G's in this puzzle. We're going to add another grand. This is your last opportunity to buy vowels if you would like to do so. And he doesn't going into that last question. Joey, who has more PPR fantasy points on the season? So this is on the season. Who has more PPR fantasy points through 10 weeks of the season? Is it DJ Moore or is it Christian Kirk?
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore is correct. And what I thought was a tricky one. You got that right, Joey. Which letter would you like?
It is. DJ Moore just had like 2 incredible games with Justin Fields on the field. Hopefully Fields back this week. That's going to improve DJ Moore's stock a lot. It's a tough matchup though. But yeah, Christian Kirk's had a great season too. I will take a T, please.
Get this right. You're going to add all this money to your bank. And there are 2 T's, adding another 1,000. This is going to be 3,500 into your bank. And Joe, you got 5 seconds to solve before we move on.
Fart, 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 fart.
So close. You have to say it exactly like it's on the screen, though. Which means, Jean-Luc, we are on to you. Are you ready for your question, or would you like to solve?
No, now that Joey gave me most of the puzzle, I think I might be able to solve. I'll take a question.
I'm just making sure I remember. Oh, yeah.
It's funny because I guess bad letters.
Okay, Jean-Luc, who had more PPR fantasy points in Week 10? So this is just in Week 10. Who had more PPR fantasy points last week in Week 10? Was it Deonta Foreman or was it Jahmyr Gibbs?
Gibbs.
Gibbs is absolutely correct. Only Brian Robinson Jr. scored more points than him in Week 10. Which letter would you like?
Give me an H.
An H. There's 1 H in this puzzle. I'm going to add 500. What would you like to do now?
Take another question.
Another question for John Luke. Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 10? Who had more PPR fantasy points in week 10? Was it Tyler Boyd or was it Brandon Ayuk?
Ayuk.
I'm sorry, John Luke. It was Tyler Boyd stepped up when he was supposed to, which means Joey, we are on to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
I like a question, please, Mr. Simon.
Okay. Who has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Who has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Is it Tank Dell or is it Christian Kirk?
For a second, I thought you meant Tank Bigsby, and I was like, what the hell is this question? All right, so this is definitely it. So I'm going to still say Christian Kirk, though.
That is Christian Kirk.
Okay.
Joey, that is absolutely right. Which letter would you like?
Why did my mind go to Tank Bigsby? I want a...
Just can't get the tank off your brain.
L.
L. There's one L in this puzzle. Going to add 500.
I'm going to buy some vowels. I'm going to buy an I.
An I. There are two I's in this puzzle.
I knew those were there. Okay. I'll take the question, please.
Question number 2 coming your way. Who has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Who has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Is it Derrick Henry or is it Austin Eckler?
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry is correct, though Austin Eckler is gaining on him rapidly, even with the missed time. Joey, which letter would you like?
R.
R. There are 3 R's in this puzzle. I'm going to add 1,500. What's your move, dude? Would you like to buy a question? Would you like to move on to your
question? I'm going to take a question.
It's your final question. Joey, get this right and the letter. You'll bank all this money. Who has more rushing touchdowns so far on the season? Who has more rushing touchdowns so far on the season? Is it Josh Allen or is it Josh Jacobs?
This is really tough. I'll go Josh Jacobs.
I'm sorry, Joey. It is Josh Allen with 7 to Josh Jacobs 5, which means John Luke. We are on to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
Question.
Okay. My question for you is who has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Who has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Is it Alvin Kamara or is it Tony Pollard?
Kamara.
Kamara is correct, even with the 3 missed weeks. Which letter would you like, John Luke?
This is tricky. Let's go with an S.
An S. There are 2 S's in this puzzle. Going to add $1,000. You can buy a vowel, you can solve, or you can take your second question.
Buy an E.
An E. And there goes everybody's guess in the chat. I was waiting for that E to show up and ruin it for them. John Luke, that is going to subtract $1, $2, $3, $400 from your round bank. Would you like to buy another vowel? Would you like to move on to question number 2, or would you like to solve? Also, I see Toronto Dave stopping by in the chat. What's up, Dave? Welcome in.
What up, Dave? I'll buy an O.
An O. There are 4 O's in this puzzle.
Whew.
Your options remain the same, JL.
All right. I'll take a question.
Okay, question number 2.
Oh, I just got it.
Question number 2. Who has more rushing touchdowns on the season? Who has more rushing touchdowns on the season? Is it Joe Mixon or is it Travis Etienne?
No. Ask me something different. No. Mixon.
I'm sorry, John Luke. It is Travis Etienne with 7 to Mixon's 4, which means, Joey, we are on to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve? Or would you like to buy vowels?
Oh, I can buy vowels?
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. I like to buy an A.
An A. There are 2 A's in this puzzle, and now that is all of the vowels, Joey. bringing you down to 1,600. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
I'd like to solve.
Okay, let's hear it. Just so mad.
Knocking over Jenga towers with Zay Flowers.
This is knocking over Jenga towers with Zay Flowers. The absolute menaces you guys are at the board game bar. What'd you say, Jail? He'd never play with you?
He'd never play with you.
Me?
Say no thank you. I decline your invitation.
Is this with anyone in general? Is it about Jenga?
You.
Oh, okay.
You specifically.
Will he play other games with me, or is it just Jenga that he's not playing with me?
All games now.
Well, damn it. Well, Joey, you were going to bank that $1,600. And Jail, you did a really good job on that puzzle. Unfortunately, no points coming your way. Derek came in here with the final answer first, knocking over Jenga towers with Zay Flowers. That we had enjoying your Jenga towers with Zay Flowers.
That makes more sense. Zay would never lose in Jenga.
Nice one, guys. Also, Scott Fish said, what are Jenga towers, Simon and Joey? I believe I said Jenga, Scott. Check the tape. He's making fun of us for our pronunciation, I believe, is what he's saying there.
I went to school in Florida. That should tell you everything you need to know. Like, the schooling here is just mediocre.
Jenga.
And Dustin said Jenga towers is also what Darren Waller's hamstrings are made out of. Darren Wally, or his hamstrings are made of Jenga.
Wally.
All right. Well, before we move on, what,
Wait.
Joey? Yeah, everyone wait for Joey to get his confetti. Now that he's got it, we can move on to our next puzzle. Puzzle number 4 coming your way. This one is the last names of 4 different top 12 wide receivers. So all of these wide receivers are currently in the top 12 on the season. These are their last names. I need you to tell them to me in order that they appear on the screen. Joey, you solved that last one, which means John Luke, you're up first. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
Question.
Also, Scott Fish in here said, I love you guys. It's been too long.
You should come on the show sometime, Scott. Yeah.
And Brain Burst in here said, Jail, I owe you an apology for giving you a hard time for spending 75 fab on Zach Wilson, especially now that I have an injured Derek Carr and only Josh Allen, who has a week 13 bye.
I respect you
Go ahead,
for this apology, but I do not accept it.
The respect without the acceptance. What more can you look for, Brain? Man, that just shows he was passionate about what he said to you. John Luke, here is your first question. Who has more receiving touchdowns on the season? Who has more receiving touchdowns on the season? Is it Jordan Addison or is it Travis Kelce?
Kelce.
I'm sorry, John Luke. It is Jordan Addison with 7. Only Tyreek Hill has more receiving touchdowns than him. Travis Kelce currently has 4 on the season, which means, Joey, we're on to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
I'd like a question, please, Simon.
Okay. Who has more receiving touchdowns on the season, Joseph? Who has more receiving touchdowns on the season? Is it Romeo Doubs or is it CeeDee Lamb?
CeeDee Lamb.
I'm sorry, Joey. It is Romeo Doubs with 6 touchdowns on the season so far, which means we are back on to John Luke.
Ask me that question next week.
Okay. Jay, would you like a question or would you like to solve this puzzle?
Question.
Okay, John Luke, what I want to know is who is favored in tonight's game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens? This is according to the FanDuel Sportsbook.
Ravens.
The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites. Nice job, John Luke. Which letter would you like?
N.
N as in no way?
N as in Napoli.
Napoli. It's me, Napoli. And you got 3 N's, JL. Going to add 1,500 to your round bank. Would you like to buy a vowel? Would you like another question or would you like to solve?
Let's buy an A.
An A as in A.
A.
There's going to be 2 A's in this puzzle. John Luke, going to subtract 200 from your round score, and your options remain the same.
Let's buy an E.
An E? And there are 4 E's in this puzzle. 1, 2, 3, 4, bringing down to 900, and your options remain the same yet again.
Let's buy an I.
An I. Oh, you're just buying all the vowels. 2 I's in this puzzle, bringing you down to 700, and your options remain the same again. What would you like to do?
Fuck it, let's buy an O.
Took me a second to register what you said. We got 2 O's in here, and that is all of the vowels, JL. You have cleaned out the house, so there's just consonants left. What would you like to do? Solve or take question number 2?
I have most of them. I will take another question.
Okay. Another question for John Luke. JL, what I want to know is who has more receiving yards on the season? Who has more receiving yards on the season? Is it Mike Evans or is it Keenan Allen?
Let's go with Keenan Allen.
You would be absolutely correct, JL. Which letter would you like?
Give me the L.
The L. There are 3 L's in this puzzle. Going to add 1,500. This is... You can move into your final question or you can solve right now, JL.
Oh, go to the final question.
The final question. Okay, John Luke, who has more receiving yards on the season? Who has more receiving yards on the season? Is it Amon-Ra St. Brown or is it Nico Collins?
Oh, got it.
I'm sorry, what were the names?
Amon-Ra St. Brown and Nico Collins, receiving yards.
Let's go with Amon-Ra.
And that is correct, JL. Which letter would you like? Get this right. You're going to bank that money.
Let's go with an R.
An R. There is 1 R in this puzzle. Yes. I'm going to add 500. JL, you got 5 seconds to solve.
Allen Moore, Thielen, Pittman.
And
I say we give it to him.
Yeah.
I say we give it to him.
Didn't say your turn was over yet in jail. That is all of the names on there. It came to you like a vision at the last second.
Pittman was right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Allen, Moore, Thielen, Pittman, and Derek called it, JL. Said he's struggling to think of Pittman there at the end.
I was just praying you weren't going to say T.
Yeah, and I feel like you almost did say T instead of
it was like there. I was
like, T on the tip of your tongue.
Good job, JL.
It's going to add 2,500 to your score, bringing you up to 4,000. The chat was all over this one, but they were having trouble figuring some of the names out. Dustin said Allen, Chase, Thielen, Pittman. So close. Dustin said Allen, Moore, Thielen, Pittman, and then Scottfish coming in as well with Allen, Moore, Thielen, Pittman.
Alan Moore wrote The Watchmen. He was the author of that graphic novel.
And Dustin then he said he almost wanted to say T. He would have solved it with the T, and he did solve it with that buzzer beater, baby. All right, we got a close game now, and time for at least one more puzzle in.
I think we call
probably
it
2.
45 minutes seems good.
We've got another NFL player movie matchup here.
Oh, boy.
So you saw the last one. It's going to be similar to that, and that an NFL player's name and a movie are shoved together into one thing. I did not say anything about it being similar in terms of quality. We'll have to wait until this one's revealed, and you guys can be the judge of that. John Luke solved that last puzzle, which means, Joey, you are going first in this one. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
Question.
A question for Joey. Okay, Joey, who has more receiving yards on the season? Who has more receiving yards on the season? Is it Chris Godwin or is it Terry McLaurin?
Terry McLaurin.
It is Terry McLaurin. Nice job, Joey. Which letter would you like?
T.
T. There are 1 T in this puzzle. You can add $500 to your round bank.
I'll buy an E.
Okay. There are 2 E's in this puzzle. Going to subtract 200. You can solve or you can take another question.
I'll take a question.
You'll take a question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Joey, my question for you is who had more receiving yards during the season so far? Who has more receiving yards up to this point in the season? Is it Adam Thielen or is it DJ Moore?
Oh, you're a jerk. I'm going to go Adam Thielen, though.
I'm sorry, Joey. It is DJ Moore with about 140 more receiving yards than Adam Thielen on the season so far. Hey, it was 2 games, JL. Give him some credit.
All in 2 games.
All in 2 games. John Luke, that means we're back to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
Question.
Okay. Joe, my question for you is, which of these teams is favored in their matchup this weekend? Which of these teams is favored in their matchup this weekend? The Pittsburgh Steelers or the Cleveland Browns? And just to be clear, they're playing each other. Which team is the favorite team?
Which team's at home?
Oh, yeah. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns. I'll give that in all future iterations of this question.
Let's go Steelers.
I'm sorry.
Brown. Yeah, it's fine. I'll take that.
I'm sorry, John Luke. It is the Browns, and I started answering a little too quickly there before you changed it, which means, Joey, we're on to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
Question.
Okay, Joey. Which of these teams is favored in the game between the Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Rams? According to the FanDuel Sportsbook.
I'll take Seattle.
Seattle's 1-point favorites on the road. Nice job, Joey. Which letter would you like?
H.
There are 2 H's in this puzzle.
Okay.
We're going to add a grand. What would you like to do?
A buy and O.
Oh, wait. I also accidentally... JL, you guessed one of the letters up there, correct?
No.
The T? Or Joey did both the T's?
I did, yep.
Oh, I'm crazy.
There's only one T there.
Joey, what would you like to do?
Buy an O, please.
Okay, there's 1 O in
I
this
knew about
puzzle.
that one.
Would you like to buy another vowel?
Yeah, I want to buy an I.
There are no I's in this puzzle, which means we are on to John Luke. Joe, would you like a question? Okay.
Question.
JL, my question for you is, which of these players has more PPR fantasy points through 10 weeks? So far through the season, which of these players has more PPR fantasy points? Is it Sam Laporta or is it Dallas Goedert?
Let's go with Laporta.
Laporta is absolutely correct. The number 4 tight end on the season. Which letter would you like, JL?
Give me an R.
An R. There's 1 R in this puzzle. Going to add 500. What would you like to do now?
Question.
Okay, question number 2. Which of these players has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Which of these players has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Is it TJ Hawkinson or is it Tyler Lockett?
Lockett.
I'm sorry, it is TJ Hawkinson, which means, Joey, we are on to you. Would you like a question or would you like to solve?
I'd like to buy an A.
An A, you can buy a vowel. There are 3 A's in this puzzle. Going to subtract 300 and your options remain the same.
Buy the U.
The U. There are 2 U's in this puzzle, and that is all of the vowels.
Gosh.
Joey, would you like a question?
I got to take a question. I know the movie. I just got to figure out the player.
Okay, Joey, my question for you is, which of these players has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Is it Kenneth Walker or is it George Kittle?
Most fantasy points through how long?
10 weeks. So up to this point in the season.
Okay. So 2 players again?
Kenneth Walker and George Kittle.
I'll go Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker is absolutely correct. Which letter would you like?
S.
There are 3 S's in this
Got it.
puzzle. Going to add 1,500. Joey, would you like to solve?
Yes. Sean of the Gus Deadwards.
This is Sean of the Gus Deadwards. Nice job, Joey. That is going to earn you $2,200 and likely today's game, because I don't think we have time to run through another. We got time to do one more puzzle.
No!
Probably.
Okay, let's do one more.
We can do one more puzzle real quick if we load it up there.
Yeah.
Puzzle number 6,
No!
NFL headline. Lots of points available. This one could change the outcome of this game. It's nothing too crazy, so we'll see if you can get it in there. Dustin in there got in with Sean of the Gus Deadwards right around the same time as Joey. Joey, you solved that one, though, which means, John Luke, you are up first. Would you like a question or would you like to solve this puzzle?
Question.
Okay, Joe, my question for you is, who had more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Is it Zay Flowers or is it Jahan Dotson?
Flowers.
Flowers is absolutely correct. Which letter would you like?
Give me an N.
N. There are 3 N's in this puzzle. Going to add 1,500. What's the move?
Question.
Okay, question number 2, JL. Who has more passing touchdowns through the first 10 weeks of the seaon. So who has more passing touchdowns? Is it Tua Tagovailoa or is it Jared Goff?
Tua?
Tua is absolutely correct. Number 2 by that metric, actually tied for number 1. Which letter would you like, JL?
Give me an R.
An R. There are 4 R's in this puzzle, adding another 2,000. John Luke, you can move on to your third question, or you can buy a vowel here.
I'll take another question.
Question number 3. John Luke, who has more fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Who has more fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Is it Calvin Ridley or is it Josh Downs?
Oh, no. Downs?
Downs is absolutely correct, John Luke. Get this letter right. You will bank this money and take the lead because it's a minimum of 500 that you're going to get.
You should miss this letter.
What'd you say?
T.
T as in taco?
T as in taco.
There is 1 T in this puzzle, bringing you to 4,000. Jail, you're going to bank that money, taking a $200 lead, and you got 5 seconds to solve.
I can't solve this.
I did my best impression of Joey. All right, Joey, that means you are up. I see some questions popping in the chat. We're going to do our best to answer these during the show today, but a reminder,
win this game for you.
Actually, we're going to run out of time, but right after this at 4:05 p.m. Eastern time on this same YouTube channel, we're going to be live doing nothing but answering questions. Joe, would you like a question or would you like to solve?
I would like to win this game, so I would like a question.
Okay. A solve would win it for you as well, Joey, because it would earn you $1,000, just so you know. My question for you is, who has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Who has more PPR fantasy points? Is it Devonta Smith or is it Chris Olave?
Smith's had 2 good games in a row. I feel like Olave had I'm going to say Chris Olave.
Chris Olave is absolutely correct. Nice job, Joey. Which letter would you like?
S.
There are 3 S's in this puzzle, going to earn 1,500. Joe, would you like another question? Would you like to buy a vowel or would you like to solve?
I guess I'm going to buy a vowel.
Okay.
With an A.
There's 1 A in this puzzle.
That was rough. I'll buy an O.
An O. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 O's in this puzzle. What's it going to be, Joey? Buy another vowel, take a question, or solve?
I'll buy an I.
Okay. There is 4 I's in this puzzle, which is going to leave your options the same as you still have $500.
I'll take a question.
Okay. Your next question. Who has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Is it Nico Collins or is it Isaiah Pacheco?
Nico Collins or Isaiah Pacheco? Nico Collins.
Nico Collins is correct. Which letter would you like, Joey?
F.
F. There are 3 F's in this puzzle. Going to add 1,500. Joey, this is your last opportunity to buy vowels if you would like to do so, or we can move on to your third question, or you can solve.
I will buy an E.
Okay. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 E's, Joey, bringing you down to 1,500. If you don't have it now, I'm going to move into your third and final question.
I'm going to take a third and final question.
Okay. My question for you, Joey, is who has more PPR fantasy points through the first 10 weeks of the season? Is it Ramondre Stevenson or is it Rachaad White?
Rachaad White.
Rachaad White is correct, Joey. Nice job. Which letter would you like?
I'll take a N. Oh, C.
I was going to say you already guessed C. There's 1 C in this puzzle. Going to add 500. That's going to move that to your score, and you've got 5 seconds to solve, Joey.
Oh, Bills fire offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey.
Bills fire offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey is absolutely correct, Joey. That's going to earn you not just the puzzle, but the last second win in this game. Congratulations to you, and congratulations to JL on a well-fought win. Loss. What's that say? Joey stinks 400, but wow. All 400 but, Joey. You should really get that checked out if you stink 400 but. Oh yeah, very nice rave here in Berlin. If you've never been, you have to come.
All right.
Joey loves raving in Berlin. JL loves raving in the losers cabin. And I love all of you for watching us on today's show. Thank you everybody for tuning in the chat for today's fantasy football game show. Before we go, Joey had a question for us.
JL, when it comes to black olives, do you prefer them in a jar or in a can? I'm just curious.
Go fuck yourself, Joey.
Before we go, we'll give you a little sneak preview of what office hours is going to look like by answering our friend Menace's question. Menace wants to know, should I trade Kenneth Walker for Rachaad White? Joey, which of those two players would you rather have in fantasy?
Even though Zach Charbonnet's usage has gone up, I think it's Kenneth Walker. Rachaad White over the last 4 weeks, he's been getting some decent work, catching passes out of the backfield, check down passes and whatnot. But he's only averaging 2.5 yards a carry. It's a little bit over 3 now with that last game that he had. I'm just not in on Rachaad White still as the resident Buccaneers fan. Maybe that's pessimism on my behalf, but it'd be Kenneth Walker.
Joe, you agree here? It's going to be Kenneth Walker for you as well?
I also agree. Yeah, the usage is in favor of Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, and I'm not. I was the biggest Zach Charbonnet horn tutor going into this season, and that horn has not been tooted very hornily recently. I'm on the Kenneth Walker side of this one as well, Menace. Well, guys, Joey and I will see you ever so shortly to answer your fantasy questions right here on the Front Yard Fantasy YouTube channel for office hours. Until then, though, we are out of here. Thank you again to everybody for watching. Thank you to
Mike.
Thanks to Mike. We really owe you one for all that lemonade. Until 5 minutes from now, adios, everyone.
Bye.